104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports, going out to Minnesota right now, 1500 ESPN in Minnesota. Matthew Coller joins us. So, Matthew, Adrian Peterson, he's the hot topic, but he's still a Viking as of right now. How much longer does that last?
Probably until somewhere around the Combine, they'll make an official decision on him. With Peterson, there's no question that he's not going to play under his current contract because he would be making $18 million next year, which would be at least double, maybe a little more than the next highest paid running back, depending on what Le'Veon Bell gets. So that would be insane to pay him that much money. The contract was pretty much designed to have him released now because it won't cost anything on the cap for the Vikings. So they can either decide to just let him walk and hit the free agent market and go somewhere else, or over the next couple of weeks they could be working on a contract extension for him. Those are pretty much the only two options. He will not remain under the current contract that he has right now.
He recently tweeted out, quote, "The Giants been making some interesting moves." What do we read into that?
With Adrian Peterson, man, you just never really know what to read into any of his comments. I mean, it's like just chasing around a moving target trying to figure out what Adrian Peterson is thinking, because even talking to him at the end of the year, his end-of-the-year press conference, at one point he's talking about understanding that he may need to take less money because of the value of running backs, and then the next moment he's comparing himself to Tom Brady and Antonio Brown and saying he's going to play 7 more years. So it's really difficult to figure out what is bouncing around in the brain of Adrian Peterson. Now, he had name-dropped the Giants once before on an ESPN interview with a couple other teams that seemed to just pop into his head and come right out of his mouth. He mentioned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, too, but interesting moves. I don't know what interesting moves he's even talking about outside of Rashad Jennings being let go. I guess maybe he sees that as a potential running back position. But more than anything, it's probably just Adrian Peterson being out of the news cycle for like 48 straight hours and needing to find a way to get himself back in it.
Matthew Coller from 1500 ESPN in Minnesota with us right now on 104.5 The Team. So, Matthew, when you look at AP, do you think he still has gas left in the tank?
Well, that's a great question, and it's really hard to pin down because last year he played so little, and when he was in the lineup, the Vikings' offensive line was the worst run-blocking offensive line in the history of sports. It was really, really poor. They averaged, as a team, the fewest yards per carry. So if he were on a team that had a little better of an offensive line, I think there is still something left there. But the problem is that whatever is left is only within the context of just being a pounded-out type of running back. He can't really do much else. And if you look at the other really good running backs around the league, how many of them are just pure runners? I would say almost none. Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, all these guys that everybody drafts high on their fantasy teams, those guys are dual threats. They can catch out of the backfield. A lot of them are very good pass blockers, too. And Adrian Peterson is kind of a relic at this point as the one-dimensional running back who can't really catch the ball out of the backfield anymore and just has to run it, pound it out. I mean, there's a few other guys in the league like that, LeGarrette Blount, Eddie Lacy, but these guys don't get paid a whole lot. So that's where I'm really interested to see what happens because there was a report that Eddie Lacy is going to get like $2 million. I mean, think about that. If you're Adrian Peterson and they come to you with a similar price, I mean, he's going to be shocked thinking that he's one of the greatest of all time and that's the only offer he can get. But the NFL has changed quite a bit since Adrian Peterson was at his absolute best. So that's a long way of answering. When it comes to his tweets or whatever he says, I think you can only roll your eyes and not really investigate too hard into it.
And we understand the price tag with Adrian Peterson, but looking at the Vikings' backfield, does this organization have enough faith in their running backs right now, or is this a team that may be targeting a running back in the NFL draft?
Well, they should be looking for a running back in the draft, and I wouldn't be surprised if they picked one with their first pick, which will be in the second round, if Adrian Peterson goes. The free agent market has a couple of intriguing guys out there, but nobody who's really proven. Latavius Murray is okay. Jacquizz Rodgers had a pretty good year last year for Tampa Bay, but nothing that would make you say, oh, there's just another running back we can go grab. The intriguing guy on the roster is Jerick McKinnon, who I thought was really underutilized last year for his skill set. I think he is one of those dual-threat backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield, and his numbers over his first 2 years as kind of a fill-in running back were really good. He was averaging near 5 yards a carry. And then this year, I noticed looking at some of his stats that they tried to run him up the middle, I think way more than he's capable of. He's kind of an outside runner, and they really didn't use him as a threat out of the backfield in the passing game, which they had done over his first couple of years. So I would say that McKinnon, at very least, would be a 40% of the snaps type of guy and has some potential to be more. But they definitely need to pick up a running back, I think, both in the draft and grab one in free agency if Peterson doesn't return.
Matthew Coller with us, 1500 ESPN in Minnesota, right here on 104.5 The Team. So, Matthew, who's handing that running back the ball? Is Teddy Bridgewater going to be back anytime soon, or is he going to be back ever?
I would be stunned if he was back anytime soon. Back anytime ever, I think, is up in the air right now. The way I look at it is, if Teddy Bridgewater was doing really well with his rehab, then you would hear about it all the time. The Vikings did not make Bridgewater available to talk at any point. They didn't make the trainer available to talk at any point about his rehab. And then there was a Bleacher Report that came out stating that he wasn't going to play next year, which, I mean, I think at this point it's probably too hard to say, but anytime that head coach Mike Zimmer or GM Rick Spielman have been asked about Bridgewater's status, it's always the same answer, that there's really no timetable right now, which doesn't make you think at all, oh yeah, he'll be back and ready to go and there will be a quarterback competition. I don't think that's going to be the case. It's Sam Bradford probably for 100% of next season, and then we'll find out what ends up happening, whether Teddy Bridgewater can come back or not.
Since Levack brought up the quarterback position, we know you're a Western New York guy. You used to work for the flag station for the Buffalo Bills, WGR 550. And the question is Tyrod Taylor. The clock is almost ticking for Bills fans when the decision is going to be made about Tyrod Taylor's future. What do you believe the Buffalo Bills should do with Tyrod Taylor?
I think Tyrod Taylor puts you in a position where you could make the playoffs, but that's probably it. I think he's in that third-tier Alex Smith range, which is where I see Sam Bradford also, of quarterbacks who are just good enough to get you to maybe 9-7, 10-6, if you've got a great coach, a little bit more. But when it comes to actually getting yourself a championship, I don't think that he's good enough to do that. And so if you're the Bills and you have an eye on just ending the playoff streak, maybe you say, well, let's bring back Tyrod Taylor and see where it goes from here. But if you're thinking about revamping the entire roster and not sleeping until you find a quarterback that can compete with Matt Ryan and Tom Brady, well, then Tyrod has got to go and somebody else can have him. And maybe somebody builds a really stupendously great team around him and they can win a lot. But I think he has so many limitations as a quarterback. Even though he's got a great deep ball, he's got that great athleticism, and he can run. I think when it comes to other quarterback things, reading the field and getting through progressions and things like that, I think he really struggles with those things, and I don't think you can win a championship with that type of quarterback. But I think that might be the Bills' changing mindset. I think when they hired Rex Ryan, they were thinking, let's just end this drought. And then now they might be looking at it and saying, the only way to go is to investigate every possible option for quarterbacks, or maybe even do what the Browns did and make trades to pick up more draft picks, and then go to the bottom next year and try to get the highest-rated quarterback. I think that might be a better play if they've got their eyes on getting back to a Super Bowl someday.
Matthew Coller, 1500 ESPN in Minnesota. Man, we appreciate you. And it's nice in Minnesota right now?
Yeah, it's nice. It's sunny out. It's 45 degrees. I mean, it doesn't always stay this way in the wintertime, but we're going through a little bit of a heat wave, so everybody's enjoying it.
Which winter's worse, Buffalo or Minnesota?
I would say it's different. It's neither one is great, but it's different because it gets down to minus 25 or minus 30 in Minnesota, and your eyeballs freeze. But in Buffalo, there's so much more snow, so you can get trapped in your house in Buffalo. That doesn't happen in Minnesota. There's like 1/3 of the snow, but it is cold.
All right, Matthew, we appreciate you. Stay warm. Enjoy this little summertime you got going on right now.
All right, thanks a lot.